All right, so again, this teaching is for empaths. If you consider yourself an empath, type yes, and then invite an empath, okay? So, the way that we're talking about empath is the sense of it is a person who can see, sense, or feel other energies outside of yourself. Often people come to you, they want your advice, they want you to assist them in some kind of way. And at times that gets draining for you, right? It gets draining because you're giving, 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 and it's a little in return. It may feel draining for you because of some processes going on inside. It may be ping ponging off of your own pain. And I want to help you know whether or not a person is ready for change. This can help in your relationships. This can help you identify your stage of change. This could help you with your children, family members, on the job, everywhere. Because when you're you're an empath everywhere. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. Y'all know on TikTok, likes matter, okay? So as you continue to tap the screen, I want to help you know if a person can change, where they are in the stages of change, and what you can do in each stage, right? Have you ever been in a relationship and you wondered, can a person change? Will they change? Or they said they were going to change and then they changed for a little while and then went back to it? Or you've been wondering if they're going to change, how long is it going to take? Well, I can't tell you how long it's going to take, but I can tell you how to track progress. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to read from my most recent ebook. It's called Presence, the Empowered Empath Guide. All right, and let me just share what it looks like with you. It's an ebook. I'm going to bring an audio for it, probably work on that today. But where is it? It's right there. I got to lean all the way to the side, but y'all see it. Help others without draining yourself and absorbing their energies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that's the most recent book. It's a guide. It's informational. It's psychological concepts, emotional concepts, energetic concepts, and suggestions for you. And I'm about to read from it. Okay. So if you're ready, type yes and let me continue. So the topic today on this live is stages of change. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read directly from the book. And this is going to help me to also see if there are any typos. Okay. So listen. When you understand each stage of change and the unique characteristics of each stage, you will be empowered to ask effective questions. Greetings, hey vibes. You will be able to offer the most effective information and avoid a lot of resistance. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of heartache. Okay. So if you just popped on, I'm going to teach you how to recognize where a person is in a stage of change, whether or not they're going to change, if they can change, and what you could do about it. Okay. So understanding this model will also help you assess your own personal needs in shadow work. Okay. And will help you stop absorbing outer energies and pain. I found a typo. You will also more clearly discern the difference between individuals who are ready to change and those who are not. My purpose here is to give you an overview of the stages of change so that you will have working knowledge when helping others. Later in this guide, I'll help you incorporate that knowledge into conversation. All right, so all of us have been in a situation where we wondered, can a person change? right? Or is the change permanent? You wondered about that. I know I have, right? And maybe people have wondered that about me. I want to help you identify. Thank you for the likes. So there's 6 stages of change that we're going to talk about, okay? This could be a parent. You wonder if your parent is going to change. Your sibling, your friend, your lover, the boss, whoever. Are they even listening? That's another question, right? Because sometimes you could be voicing problems and you don't even know if they're listening to you. Can they even hear? I'm going to answer the question for you. It's in this book, okay? So the 6 stages of change that we're going to talk about today they are pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and relapse. Okay. In psychology, this model is called the trans-theoretical model. It focuses on the process of decision making and is a model of how intentional change occurs. When you want to see change, you don't want someone just changing their behavior. Thank you for that. You don't want them changing because they just want you to be quiet and stop fussing, right? You want the change to come from inside. And how will you know if it's coming from inside? We're about to talk about it. This model is based upon the idea that most times individuals do not change overnight, and it covers the process of behavioral change from start to actual change and offers intervention at each stage. All right. So here's some questions to ponder before we jump in. This is a training, it's a teaching, so we're gonna be here for a while. If you're here for the information, get a notepad, take notes. Okay? Questions to ponder. What, if anything, do you already know about the stages of change? I'm throwing that out there. Do you know anything about it already? I know I've taught on this before, not in so much detail, but I have taught about it. So are you familiar with the trans-theoretical model of change? I want to help you with some real strategies here, okay? Nobody? Okay. Have you ever felt frustrated when trying to help a person who seemed to be resistant to information you've shared? Have you ever felt frustrated when you've been trying to share some real good information, some points, and a person felt resistant? That's a good question, right? And you can go ahead and type that, let it come across the screen. Yes, right? Have you ever tried to advise a person only to have them tell you that you don't understand? Or take your advice but not apply it? Have you ever had that? Yes, Lord. Right. Have you ever had that? You give the person the advice, they still telling you you don't get it, right? And then they let you tell them all the stuff you tell them, and then they leave and they don't take the advice, right? Have you ever, here's another one, have you ever dreaded hearing the same story multiple times from a person you have previously assisted? You know the same story is coming. Y'all have talked about it a million times. Have you ever experienced that? Right? And I say here, right, if you answered yes to any of these questions, the information in this guide is for you, okay? I'm reading, if you just popped on, welcome. I'm reading from my most recent book, and we're talking about change. How to know if people are going to change. Can they change? Are they listening? Can they hear? Right? And what should you do in each stage? All right, so stage 1 is called pre-contemplation. This is usually the first stage in the process of personal change. We have all been unaware of an issue, struggled with not having enough information, or not being able to see from other perspectives. When a person is in this stage, they are unable to change. It doesn't mean they won't change, they're just unable to. It's called pre-contemplation, okay? And I'm going to shift this real quick. Does that make sense? So I'm going to read that again because I just had an idea. Pre-contemplation, stage 1, stages of change. This is usually the first stage in the process of personal change. We have all been unaware of an issue, struggled with not having enough information, or not being able to see from other perspectives. When a person is in this stage, they are unable to change. This doesn't mean they won't change. People who are unaware that there is a problem or that their behavior is problematic to themselves or others are often unable to engage in logic around the problem or discuss a certain topic in depth. They may resist talks about the advantages of change, and they may appear to be denying that there's a problem. They may get defensive and or blame you for something, for anything, all right? You're the problem. They can only see from their perspectives. It is important for you to understand that a person in this stage, is called pre-contemplation, is neither ready nor able to change. You will frustrate yourself with your own unrealistic expectations if you don't understand this. If you approach change talks at this stage with too much action, with asking for too much action or asking them to take accountability too soon, you will encounter their boundaries and resistance. It is also important to understand that the need to make a change makes sense to you because you are not in pre-contemplation. It is tempting to judge the person or a person who is in this stage or accuse them of acting like they don't see. Truth is, they don't see. Whether this is an act, deflection, unconsciousness, or denial, what you can know is that this person is not at the stage of being receptive to change. When you feel frustrated while helping someone in this stage, it's a sign that you have some expectations that do not align with this stage of change. So you got to be sure that you release the expectations, but maintain your desire to help, maintain your desire to be present. It could possibly be you. It could possibly be any of us. We all begin here, okay? Helping others is about being able to assess where they are in the stages of change and apply appropriate strategies for a specific stage. Helping others is not about getting them to see. Helping others is not about getting them to see. Helping others is not about getting them to see. If you're trying to get them to see something and you are in frustration, it's a sign that you are in some expectations that are not aligning with this stage of change. Greetings. Thank you. Helping others is about wanting to see them win and grow, and doing so in educated, strategic, and compassionate ways. I'm talking to everyone and anyone who considers themselves an empath. Everyone and anyone who deals with people, everyone and anyone who has wanted to see change in another person, right? So I'm bringing you through this training. It's in my most recent book. If you like it, you can get it on my website, because you need to understand the stages of change so you can stop frustrating yourself, so you can stop placing heaviness in your connections, so you can make clear decisions, okay? So how long will a person stay in pre-contemplation? We don't know. But as long as they're denying that there's a problem, they are there. As long as they don't see the problem and cannot see from your point of view, they are in this stage, pre-contemplation. As long as they are defending their stance and not really coming in to see any greater revelation, they are in pre-contemplation. And remember, I started by saying people who are in this stage are neither ready, willing, and they cannot change, okay? So don't frustrate yourself when a person is in this stage. Let me tell you what they commonly say in this stage, okay? People who are in pre-contemplation, they say things like this: you're thinking too much, you're overanalyzing, you're making too much of this, you're overthinking, you're too sensitive, you really need to calm down and relax and just chill. I don't see a problem. They get defensive, they deny, they justify it, they say it's you, they blame, they say you don't understand, they say they have to do it, they say they can't help it. All of these statements indicate that a person is in pre-contemplation. I highly suggest that you don't tussle with people here. because you're going to get really frustrated. And I know because I've done it enough times. Okay? You're going to get frustrated. You're not going to feel satisfied. Do not labor with them here. Because remember, solving this problem is going to require them to see the problem from different perspectives. Okay? And all of us are in pre-contemplation in different areas, right? All of us. And this is what I say. Nobody is ever thinking too much. They're thinking the way they have to think according to their programming. Now, if they're thinking themselves out of joy, if they're thinking themselves out of goodness, if they're thinking themselves out of peace, then I would say that. But I would never say that a person is thinking too much. You know why? Because that same person who's thinking too much in this scenario, you're going to love that they think too much in another scenario because they're good problem solvers, right? So that's what I would say about that. Hey, Lola. All right. So what should you not do? I think you're probably going to know this already. You should avoid judging them. Judging them is only going to cause tension and problems within you. You should avoid blaming them. See, you're the problem. And see, you keep denying. And you don't do none of that. I'm trying to teach you how to take another way when you have to experience these things, right? Avoid accusing. You did, when you start getting in that energy, don't do that. It's not the best use of your time. It's not the best use of your energy to tussle and struggle with a person who is in pre-contemplation. So what should you do? You should state the problem from your point of view and explain in short, clear statements from your point of view. The way I see this is, how I take this is, what I think is. And you're going to state it in short statements. Don't go long, don't get long-winded. Don't send no long text paragraph to a person who's in pre-contemplation. Because I'm already telling you that you're setting yourself up for frustration. Does that make sense? So you're going to have to state the problem. You still need to voice what you need to voice, but you need to state it from your point of view without blaming, without judging, without accusation. You need to use a lot of I language. I think, I feel, I experience. When you say I experience, nobody can come against that for real. They can try, but they really can't, because that's something that's going on inside of you. It is your self-report. That's what we call that in logic. Self-report. Your self-report is, I am feeling angry. I'm feeling angry, and I started feeling angry when X, Y, and Z happened. Okay? State what happened. Stay with the facts. I felt angry when I got out of the car and you didn't tell me to have a good day. That's factual. It's a fact that the person didn't say have a good day. It's factual that you felt angry. What you're not doing is blaming. What you're not doing is accusing. What does accusation sound like? You didn't even say have a good day when I got out the car. You let me get out the car. That's blaming. That's accusation. I want you to not do that. You're welcome. I want you to stick to facts and share your experience in short statements. This is not the time to go on a discourse. This is not the time to start laying out all the logic. I guarantee you, if you do that, you're going to feel really upset, because remember, a person in this stage is neither ready nor willing nor able to change. Let me know if that makes sense. I'm reading from my new ebook. If you just popped on, this is a training for empaths. It's an empath guide. You need to stop getting frustrated and worrying your nerves over whether or not people are going to change, and get educated about how to assess and how to move. Okay? All right. So y'all say, yes, it makes sense. So let's see. Let me give you some examples. You can offer your perspective based on the facts, what actually happened, not what you think happened. I think you didn't say good morning because you was mad from last night. Don't do that. That's not where we're going. The door was slammed. I got out of the car and you didn't say good morning. And I felt angry. Okay? Here's another way. I notice a shift in your energy. Do you notice a shift? What has changed? Right? So we're not going straight in talking about, oh, your energy changed. What's that about? That's very accusatory in tone, right? So you need to mind the energy that you are in when you're trying to either resolve conflict or help people, okay? I notice a shift in your energy. Don't label the energy, because as soon as you label the energy, if a person is defensive or in denial, they're going to come against that word and y'all are going to get distracted. The whole conversation is going, no, you think I'm mad. I'm not mad. You always think I'm mad. It's going to go there. So don't label the energy. I noticed a shift in your energy. Did you notice a shift? What changed? What happened? Okay. Now, if a person is in pre-contemplation and they're unconscious, they're probably going to deny that. I don't know what you're talking about. I was fine. Even that energy is telling you that there's an energy, right? But because they're in denial, they're in pre-contemplation, they are not ready to be open. Okay? Now, if they're conscious and in pre-contemplation, they will say, oh, my energy shifted. Let me think about that. When did you notice it shifted? Oh, so what happened? Then they'll start a conversation if they're conscious. Right? So we begin to see the difference between unconsciousness in pre-contemplation and consciousness in pre-contemplation. It's going to be two different worlds for you. That's why it's important for you to gauge people's levels of consciousness, because all of us experience these stages in different areas at one point or another. What matters is the level of consciousness, right? Y'all ready? Let's continue. Here's another one. I've been wanting to spend more time with you. How are you feeling about our time together? That's not what most people would do. We ain't spent no quality time. A whole week has gone by and I haven't seen you and you are working and see all that accusation and blame going forward. Instead of stating what you want, I've been wanting. That lets them know it's been going on for an amount of time. You don't have to name the amount of time. It's been 10 days, right? I've been wanting to spend more time with you. How are you feeling about our time together? As opposed to accusing, right? Because sometimes people have things going on that we don't know of because we're locked in our own pain. So this is a good question in pre-contemplation. Would you agree? Would you like someone to ask you that? Let's say you've been having a hard time in your relationship and you haven't been spending a lot of time together because it's been heavy. Would you rather them say, I've been wanting to spend more time with you. How are you feeling about our times together? Or, I guess whenever we get together, we just gonna get together. I ain't gonna say nothing. Would you rather? What energy? Which one? Oh, you going by your mama? Okay, so can we have dinner? Can we sit down and talk? Which one you rather? Right. This works in the area of physical intimacy as well. People go wrong when they start complaining about the lack of it. We ain't been, and I can't say the word, we ain't been together in 2 weeks. You haven't touched me one time. You don't even look at me. You don't blah, blah, blah. Hey, Kimba, right? Or you can say, I notice things have shifted between us in the area of, and I'm wondering how you're feeling about it. Greatness Master. Okay? Here's another one. Let's say a person is approaching you and they're telling you how bad they're being treated, but they're still going over to that place. If a person is in pre-contemplation, you know, because you know what it sounds like now, you can say, I think that involving yourself with people who do not care about your well-being in this way is something to talk about. Notice, I didn't ask for action. I didn't say that's something you need to stop doing. That's something you need to be mindful of. That's something you need to admit. That's asking for action. And remember, I told you when a person is in pre-contemplation, they're not ready for you to be talking about action and accountability. You might want to go in like that because you aggravated, but that's not going to work here. I think it's something to talk about. I think the way you are feeling when you leave that person's presence is something to talk about. Not something to judge, not something to fuss about, not something to complain about. And I'm talking to you, the one that's helping, because you get in the energy when people be doing stuff that you don't like and you're trying to help them. Let's be honest. So we're not going to get in that energy. I think involving yourself with this person, again, is something to talk about, right? This person is not ready to take action. But it's something that you can talk about. And remember, you're going to talk about it from your perspective, and you're going to talk about it from the perspective of what actually happened. Here's another one. So in this scenario, I'm reading directly from my latest book. In this scenario, you're concerned with the person's well-being. So this is what you're going to say. Your well-being is important to me. I heard you mention X, Y, and Z. I want to hear more from you about this. Your well-being is important to me. And I remember you said A, B, C, D, and E. Use their words. I remember you said that, and I want to hear more. Are you open to talking more about it? As opposed to, look, you just said that X, Y, and Z, and you're running back over there again. At what point? A person in pre-contemplation is not ready for that type of information. I'm trying to help you. Here's another one. In this scenario, there's someone yelling and screaming at their children, right? Yelling at your kids because you are frustrated is not helping you to feel better. Are you open to talking about it? That's true. It's not helping them to feel better, right? Going into this deep pit of depression each time you go through this with X, Y, and Z, it's not helping you to feel better. Are you open to talking about that? This is how you communicate with a person who is in pre-contemplation. This person cannot change, they're not ready to change, and they're not willing to change because they don't see the real problem. Does this make sense? Say yes, if so. Let's say in a situation, the person is about to do something unsafe. All right. You say, going over to their home when you feel unsafe is concerning me. We got to learn how to put some feminine energy in our communication. Right? This is you. Okay. Going over to their home when you feel unsafe is concerning me. Not, you don't need to be going over there if you feel unsafe. You need to go and do this. Or that just don't make sense what you're doing. You just said, don't do that. Right? And you're going to feel better with this kind of communication. Not just the situation get better, but you're going to feel better. Remember, this is called the Empowered Empath Guide. I'm reading directly from my book. Okay? So, when you're dealing with someone who really is in pre-contemplation, you're going to have to practice high levels of self-care. Self-care does not look like allowing yourself to move into frustration. Self-care does not, thank you. Self-care does not involve you trying to get them to see repeatedly and getting upset. Self-care does not involve you crossing their boundaries and really just going in and asking for action and blaming and accusing. That's not good self-care. I just gave you good self-care, right? Realize that your ideas are valid, even if the person doesn't listen. They're valid. They're just not ready, okay? Here's another thing to realize. A person rejecting your ideas is not rejecting or resisting you. If you're going to help people, you're going to have to take that to heart. Have you ever read the 4 Agreements? One of the 4 agreements is don't take things personally. Realize that their resistance and their rejection is not rejecting and resisting you. They are resisting change. They're resisting ideas. They're resisting your opinions, but that is not you. And if you think it's you, you're going to be taking everything personally. Soon as they don't listen, oh, well, you're going to feel some kind of way inside. Every empath needs to know that, okay? I believe me being alone will be being alone and getting help, right? Because a lot of people isolate themselves with their same ideas. And then they come out of isolation doing the same things that they thought they had overcome, okay? So, yeah, being alone can be helpful, especially when you have a person who either does not have the patience to go through this change, these stages with you, or they don't know how. If they're applying pressure, if they are advice giving when that's not what you need or want, if they don't know how to move well and with ease during the process, then being alone may be the thing to do. If they're getting offended because you don't see it their way, then being by yourself might be a good thing. But definitely getting some help, okay? Next. Engaging with a person in pre-contemplation is an opportunity for you to see where you move out of patience and become intolerant. It's a mirror, okay? How do you get when people are denying? How do you get when people are defending and they came to you for help? That's the thing, right? That's the kicker. So they come to you for help and then they start blaming and accusing you of not understanding, not getting it, whatever, right? Or they ask you what you think, you tell them, and then they start biting back. Like, why did you ask me? Engaging with a person in pre-contemplation is an opportunity for you to do some shadow work. Okay, see how you be taking things personally. This space can also help you more clearly understand your belief systems, because sometimes you, as an empath, you get a bit controlling. You want the person to do what you want them to do. That's why you're getting frustrated, because they're not. You want them to receive what you're saying, but that is unrealistic. I just told you, if they're in pre-contemplation. So you got to manage your expectations. And that's why you need this information. Because if you begin to try to help people and you don't understand what stage they're in, how to work through that stage or whatever, then that connection is going to suffer. You're going to have some hard times together. And if it's the person that you're in a romantic relationship with, you're really going to have a hard time, right? And then that's when you're trying to resolve conflict, but you can't. And then the conflict does what I call start having babies. You had one problem, then that problem had about 20 babies in that one conversation, and nothing got resolved, all right? So that's why you need this information. Remember to show compassion. I like that idea, to use the situation to work on it. Yeah, check on your own energy. When I offer my life coach training, I tell my life coaches, when you feel yourself being triggered, make a quick note. Acknowledge that as your trigger, put it on the side, and go back to curiosity when you're helping people. Because a lot of people try to help others with their triggers active. That's when they start getting frustrated and it begins to be draining, and you start absorbing, and then you start taking things personally. And then you leave the conversation, you leave the conversation feeling worse than you began, and they asked you for help, right? We got to learn how to move with this methodically, all right? And if you're an empath and people commonly come to you for help, you're going to have to ascend and expand the way that you move with them. Because if you don't, the result is you're going to be like other empaths who start saying, ooh, people drain me. I get so tired. I can't stand talking to people. Being an empath is like a curse. Oh, I'm an empath. And I coach people every single day. And I'm not saying that. Why? Because this information that I have helps me, grounds me, keeps me focused on the person who needs the help and takes me out of my own pain. Then after I'm done talking to them, I'm going to assess myself and see what was going on during that conversation. But I'm not going to blame them for draining me, okay? You get drained when you persist past your frustration. You get drained when you don't know what you're doing. You get drained when you give advice to people in pre-contemplation. You get tired when you give advice to people who are not at the appropriate stage of change for advice. There is a point where advice is appropriate, but pre-contemplation ain't it. And I just told you what pre-contemplation sounds like. So now when you hear these things, when you hear denial, when you hear defense, when you hear them saying it's you and that, then you know this person is in pre-contemplation. What I could do is state how I feel in terms of I can voice facts. I can ask them, are they open to talk? I can avoid blaming. I can avoid accusation. I can avoid judgment. And when I'm done, I'm going to do my shadow work. Okay? So here, ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions. Do y'all know what that is already? Ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions begin with the words what, when, how, and where. Why do we want to ask open-ended questions? Because when you ask open-ended questions, it promotes communication. Open-ended questions are portals. They open the possibilities of communication. When you ask closed-ended questions can be answered with a yes or a no. Those shut down communication. Okay? And there's a place to use closed-ended questions, but it's not in pre-contemplation. So you want to ask things like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts? That encourages the person to think. When a person is in pre-contemplation, you want and need them to think about what you're saying. And therefore, you ask open-ended questions. You invite. What are your thoughts? How do you think A, B, C, and D happens? Why do you think A, B, C, D, and E happens? Okay? Where do you think that changed? Where did you notice a shift? When was it that you realized X, Y, Z, A, B, C? Open-ended questions, open communication. Everyone who has really good communication understands the power of open-ended questioning. Hey, Michelle. So, when do you feel the most frustrated? You see, now they're going to think about this. Well, I feel frustrated when this. Well, I also, if you have a problem with a person talking to you, you probably are not asking open-ended questions. You ask closed-ended questions. They say yes or no, and they don't give you much else. You shut down communication. Now, here's the other thing that some people do. They try to give advice, and they disguise the advice in a question. Can I tell you what that looks like? Type yes, because y'all know I need interaction. You want to give advice, but you don't want to seem like you're giving advice. So you disguise your advice in the form of a question. Did you not see his face when did you not see? You say stuff like that. Did you not know? Did you not hear? Don't you think you should? That's your advice, because what you want to say is you should. That's your advice, because what you want to say is you should have seen his face. And when you ask questions like that, there's a subtle energy of accusation that you give. It's a subtle energy. You don't know it. So you wonder why the person reacts the way that they do. I was just asking a question. Then you say that, I was just asking. You getting mad at me. You get like that. Can you recognize that? Well, are you going to go apologize? That's a question, but what you're really saying is, I think you should apologize. When you are dealing with a person, right, and then the pitch go, well, don't you think? You get like that. Tell the truth. As they say, shame the devil. Okay? It's no such thing as the devil. All right. Invite them. Hello, upgraded. Invite them to explain or tell you more. So some open-ended phrases sound like this. Tell me more about when you said I was controlling. Can you tell me more about that? Tell me more about the situation that happened last night where you said you got upset. Tell me more. I'm interested to hear more of how you experienced my mood this morning. This is how you invite conversation. This is how you bring people to you. Okay? This is how you draw, right? By inviting. Inviting is a divine feminine energy. Okay? So if you want to give advice and the person is in this stage, we already have established that that's not the best thing. So if you still want to give advice and you still want to disguise it as a question, then you want the outcome that you get, and we just have to say ashe on that. Okay? So far, so good? Now, I said something earlier that I want to restate. When you start a question with the word why, you need to be real careful. Because a slight energetic change is going to get you a different response. Let me explain. The word why will inflame, right? It'll magnify an energy, okay? I love words. Words are packets of energy. So you got to be mindful of the words that you speak, not because you need to be afraid, but make sure you're creating the situation you want to create, okay? So listen to this one. Why didn't you just call? You feel the energy in that? It's accusation. You did something wrong and it was so simple and you still didn't do it. Why didn't you just call? Why didn't you just say that? Do you feel that? I'm going to stop and wait because I want to know. Why would you say that? Okay. Now, if you're trying to get that energy across, then okay. But usually you're not, and you shouldn't be if the person is in pre-contemplation. If you just popped on, I'm reading from my newest book. It's a Empowered Empath guide. I'm trying to teach you about communication because I want us to ascend and come away from these low levels of communication so that you can enhance your experiences. You're going to be healthier and happier when you improve your communication. Now, listen to the energy in this one. When you said A, B, C, D, and E, why did you X, Y, and Z? You hear that energy? It's different than, well, when you said A, B, C, D, and E, why did you A, B, do, do, do? You hear that? Do, 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 do. It's a subtle difference, but it matters. I'm talking to some people who love communication. Now, if you don't want to go this deep and you don't think it takes all that and you want to say what you said and they just need to accept it or something like that, this ain't for you. This is for empaths. Yes, you can get it on my website. This book is for empaths who really want to be empowered to help people, to resolve conflict, and to do it with ease, okay? Without absorbing and without drain. Think about this. Would you love for a person to say this? When you told me about your experience yesterday, I didn't ask about it yesterday, but I really would love to hear more about it. Are you open? Wouldn't you want someone to ask you that? Are you open? It really does. Hey, Strength Alchemist. Invite them to explain or tell you more about a topic if they're open. See, sometimes you think just because you want to talk about something that people should be ready to talk about it. You got to find out if they're open. Again, we're talking about invitational energy. Are you open to talking about? I have a question. Are you in a space to answer a question about? This could work by text message. This could work by email. This can work on the job. This could work in your relationship with your children. It's such a way to show respect. It's such a way to show honor. Are you open? You ask for permission. Asking is a feminine energy. Okay? All right. So avoid closed-ended questions. Do you think you did anything wrong? No. That's a closed-ended question. See how you just shut that down? Just asking, right. Don't you want to be handled softly? Don't you want to be handled tenderly? Don't you want to be in a lover energy? I want someone to ask me, are you open to talking to me about my conversation last night? Are you in a space to revisit what we talked about yesterday? We're talking about some mature conversation. Right? Thank you, Strength Alchemist. TikTok says, my fan club has completed the first stage of the club quest. Club Cheers has been unlocked for all the fans to send and celebrate. Okay. Lover energy does not make you lie a lot in the way that I'm talking about it. So you might be talking about something different. Here we're talking about radical authenticity. Okay. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about feminine energy. So I don't know what kind you're talking about, but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay. Approach them with openness. Y'all, keep it down, please. Be mindful of any judgmental energies within yourself. Be mindful of any judgmental energies within yourself. Be mindful of any judgmental energies within yourself. Let's talk about that. Okay, because if you're presenting a problem, you probably have a judgment. Okay, and I'm not saying don't have the judgment. I'm saying be mindful about the way you communicate it, because you may decide that this is a problem. That's a judgment. But what you don't want to do is attack someone's character. And you do that when you start saying things like this. You're just selfish. You're just inconsiderate. You just don't care about nobody but yourself. You don't care about my feelings. You. Remember I said avoid accusing? Remember I said that? Remember I said avoid blaming? You also need to avoid villainizing and attacking a person's character simply because you didn't like what they did. Because a lot of times what they did is not even wrong. It's wrong for you. And we can talk about that. But attacking their character is not going to cause them to see your point of view. It's not going to cause them to be more open. It's not a loving energy. It's going to shut down communication, and you're going to be wondering what happened. You're going to be saying they don't listen to you. They shut down. They're not open. There's a reason. Okay? If you think the person is wrong and should change, then this energy will come out as blame, shame, guilt, or accusatory. Okay? So if you think they're wrong and they should change, then you're going to blame. You're going to have that energy in you. Now, if you think I don't like this and I would like to see how they feel about it so I can know whether or not they want to change, and therefore I can decide what I need, then that's going to cause you to approach it with openness. Again, let me draw that distinction, because where you're coming from inside matters. If you think the person is wrong and they should change because you don't like it or because you feel a particular way, then you're going to blame. That's just what's going to happen. But what you need to do is understand that you don't like something that they did, and you need to know what they feel about it. They need to know what you feel about it. And then you need to come to some kind of conclusion together, or you need to come to a conclusion for yourself. That's different than blaming. One is open, one is not. Can you see the difference? If you just popped on, I'm offering an empath training right now. I'm reading from my book. It's on my website at veronicamarie.com. It's called The Empowered Empath. Remember that although you have or see an issue, others may not, because they have their own values and belief systems. Okay? Remember to use short, concise statements. Stick with the facts. Avoid lengthy descriptions, long texts, and emails. They're probably not going to read all of it, and they're probably only going to pull out the triggering things. Have you ever said a lot to someone and they just pulled out the least important thing of what you said? Like, you said a whole lot. You probably talked for 5 minutes straight. And what they did was pull the most insignificant thing out and start talking about that. Do you know why that happened? Hey, SJ. Because if the person is in pre-contemplation, they're just going to scan what you're saying because they're stressed out. They're in a stressed state. Their brain is not comprehending well because the blood flow is not flowing to the area of the brain that incorporates logic. The blood flow is flowing to the area of the brain that incorporates fight or flight. So if you send a great long text or an email, or you try to talk too long, some of what you're saying is going to be triggering, and they're only going to remember that. That's why I'm saying stick with the facts, use short statements, ask them what they think along the way. Try to stick to facts and ask about them. Be sure to stop every 3 to 4 sentences in case the person has input. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they were going on and on about a problem they had about you and with you, and they didn't give you an opportunity to talk, so by the time they said it all, you forgot what they said and you're trying to hang on to the last thing, and then the thing you remember is actually your trigger and it's not what's important to them, and or you want to hit every point. Hold on one second. Okay. Wait a minute. They're giving me these little puzzle things to do. Oh, Lord. They're going to end my live soon because I can't get it together. I don't even know what this is. I can't tell what these pictures are, y'all. Okay, this one is a horse, but if you don't get it right the right way, it's gonna... Okay, I think I got it. Okay. So this is why you're gonna stick to facts. Giving perspectives can get overwhelming to a person who is in pre-contemplation. Be sure to give them a chance to engage. Yeah, I finally got it. Okay. So if you have about 10 points to bring up, don't tell all 10. Say the first one in first person. I feel, I experience when X, Y, and Z happens. Leave the word you out if you can. Okay. This is not going to work 100%. It's not guaranteed to work 100%. But it's more likely that you're going to have a more successful conversation. Okay? Let me give you an example, because you need examples. I'm reading from my new book. You can get it on my website. Okay? I'm interested to know your thoughts about what I just said. So you could say, last week when we took our trip and the bellman didn't take my bag and I wound up taking my bag upstairs, I felt uncared for. And I'm interested to know your thoughts on that. Like, what were you going through at that time? Ashe, tomboy. I like to stop here and listen to what you think, feel, or believe before I continue. Wouldn't you prefer that than for the person to go on and on and on about the problem? But they would state what the problem is, how they feel, and then give you an opportunity. That way, the conversation is a dance. It's a give and take. There's masculine and feminine energy flowing, as opposed to this dumping that happens a lot of times, right? So this is what you want to avoid. This is big. Avoid saying you made me feel. That makes me feel. Avoid that. Take that out of your whole communication vocabulary, please. If you want to ascend and have some mature conversations, take that out. Overloading a conversation, hold on one second. Overloading a conversation usually never helps, right? What if they say you're interrupting if you do have a question? Well, that's why I think it's important for couples to read this book or come to coaching and learn some protocol about communication. Or let me give you a quick and easy way. Before y'all begin, say this. I really want us to have a dialogue and I want to understand fully. So I might stop you and ask some questions. Are you open to that? It's a good way to start. If you know that this person is about to go in, one way you can shape the conversation is to say, I like to ask questions when you're telling me things for fuller understanding. Are you open? I actually need to ask questions because that helps me process what you're saying. What y'all think about that? If someone asked you that, wouldn't you want that? I know we're about to talk about something real serious, and I know myself, I'm going to be wanting to ask questions. Are you open to questions and dialogue with it? Because that's best for me so I can really process what you're saying. There was no blame in that. There was no, if you go on and I don't have a chance, that's why I'm saying I need to, don't do all that. Okay. We're about to sit down and have a real conversation. Number one, this person is not my enemy, right? So I'm not about to brace and all that stuff. What I am going to do is set us up for success. I know we're about to talk about something that could get pretty serious, and I'm trying to look ahead and manage myself. I might need to ask some questions. And if the person says, no, I don't want you to ask questions, then you could say, I need to ask questions. That's the way I'm going to be able to process. I can't guarantee that I'm going to sit and be able to hear everything, because if it gets too triggering, I might start talking and interrupt you, and I don't want to do that either. So is there a way for us to work together? Because the point is, I want to understand what you're saying. I just need it a particular way, right? These are conversations to have when you're getting to know people. What is your best way? What is the best method of communication when there's problems with you? For me, for example, I love to be warned about the problem, right? So I don't want to just receive a text. I want the person to ask, hey, check for my energy, right? Have you ever been real happy and somebody just came in with a text and your whole moment just went zoom, right? So because I enjoy texting, it's important for me to state that, right? And if I know that I'm in a happy moment and a person is having a problem with me, I'll let them know I'm probably not going to read this right now because I know what kind of energy I'm in, but I will read it later when I can focus. Yeah. Killed the vibe. Absolutely. And the last thing you want to do when you're trying to resolve conflict is kill a vibe. You want to talk to the person when they're in their most positive state, right? And then when you commonly interrupt or infuse problems into spaces that are good, they begin to see you as a problem. Then their nervous system starts dreading your text. And you don't want to set that up either. And we all have experienced that, right? You just knew the text was coming through and you just like, oh Lord, I'm not even going to read that right now. I've learned not to read it until I'm ready. Okay? So that's something that you can do. That was a good question. And y'all feel free to ask questions if you have them. Okay? So again, you're not going to say anybody made you feel anything. You have cut that from your vocabulary. You don't even remember those words. You're not going to say when you do this, you make me feel. Nothing I just taught had anything with when you do this, you make me. When you talk like that, you're on a lower consciousness level in that situation. I want you to come up, okay? Coming up means you realize that nobody can make you do anything. The reason you feel it is because of the way you think about what happened. That's why you feel it. Because if you didn't think about what happened in a particular way, you wouldn't feel that. So we're not going to say you made me and that made me. It's an immature way of communicating. Kids do that. You made me mad. You made me sad. Kids do that. Stop doing that. Okay? It doesn't work in adult conversations unless you have a person who wants to please or who is guilt prone. Can I show y'all something real quick? A chart I've been using in my teachings every morning because I want to show you on a chart what low consciousness looks like and what high levels of consciousness looks like. Okay, let's see. Will it pull it up? Okay, there it is. All right, so look all the way at the bottom of the screen. At the bottom of the screen is where you have low levels of consciousness. You can't see what's down there, but there's shame down there. Humiliation is down there. Look what else is down there. Vindictive points of view. Guilt. Blame. I just told you to stay away from blame. Why? Because it's low consciousness. Okay, so look at the next one up, third from the bottom. Condemning. That's where judgment is. I told you stay away from judgment. It's low consciousness. It's not going to resolve problems. Apathy, being neither here nor there, is not going to solve problems, okay? Let's move up. Grief, all right? Grief is more conscious than shame, guilt, and apathy, at least. Let's go one up. Fear. Fear is more conscious than grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. We're moving up. Okay, when you can acknowledge that I'm afraid, you are increasing your consciousness. When you say, I feel sad, you're increasing your consciousness. Okay, now look at anger. I feel angry. Okay, we're moving up, but it's still on a low level because you don't know why. You feel antagonistic and vengeful. Tit for tat, sarcasm, passive aggressiveness, all of that is in the low consciousness area of anger and fear, guilt, and shame. All right. So after anger, there's pride. When you begin to demand, it's still a low level of consciousness. I want to set ultimatums. I'm going to set boundaries. And I'm not saying ultimatums and boundaries are wrong, but the energy in which you do them in matters. Okay. So when you're demanding, you're in pride and setting boundaries and things of that nature. You're in scorn, hate, anxiety, regret. All of that is low level of consciousness. But if you go one level up to courage, then we start ascending. And this is where we want to be. We want to make our starting point courage. Okay? Because at courage, there's permitting, there's permission, there's affirmation. Things become feasible at the level of consciousness that we call courage. And I want to stop right there. So I'm telling you, this is how I'm telling you. This is showing you what I'm telling you. Okay? What level of consciousness you want to be on? If you want to blame and say, you make it seem like that's blame. Low level. Because of you, low level. You don't want to see. That's all. You don't want to see. And that is your problem. Blame. Low level. You don't care. You don't care about me. You don't care. Blame. Low level. Right. We want to be courage and above, but at least let's get to courage where we can look at what I'm saying and self-assess and go, yeah, I'll be doing that. But I want to do something different. Courage. Okay? Here's another thing. You need to start and you need to stop blame. Well, when they were talking about desire and craving, what they're talking about is lack. Lack. The desire is not low level, but the lack is. We don't even, and you don't even that. Lack. Okay? You always do this every time. Blame. Slow level. You never acknowledge what I'm doing right. You're always telling me what I'm doing wrong. So, let me give you some more examples. I understand that I'm voicing a problem that is new. How are you experiencing what I just said? Okay, see you later. I understand that this is new. It's my first time bringing it up. And I want to know how you're experiencing it. When a person is asking how you're experiencing something, rather than focusing on the problem being solved, they're caring about your soul. They're caring about the inner you. The problem is still there, but I also care about how you're experiencing this. Okay? I understand that this could be overwhelming and triggering. What are you thinking about what I just said? Here's a beautiful question. You feel like they care. Yeah, it feels caring. It feels nurturing, right? Here's a question I love. Instead of saying, I do understand, instead of all of that, I love to hear this. What are some things you feel I have missed or don't see yet? I love that. When that comes my way, I feel like this person really wants to be in my soul. And I want them in there because they're showing me that they know how to handle themselves and me properly. What are some things you feel I have missed or didn't see? When a person is telling you you don't understand, you don't get it, that's not it, you don't, just keep fussing. Courage. Courage. Courage makes you stop and go, okay, you're telling me I don't get it. That's it. You're telling me I don't get it. I feel I do, but you're saying I don't. And it's important for me to get it from your point of view. So what are some things you feel I'm missing? What don't I see yet? Maybe I've been focusing on the wrong thing. What would you like me to focus on in this problem? Because you brought the problem to me, right? So I want to know what is the focus here? This is what you're trying to navigate. You're being very intentional, right? And this is the difference between those low consciousness type of conversations and expanded consciousness. So you gotta get around some people with some higher level consciousness so you could see what that looks like. Because some of the stuff that be going on around here is for teenagers. It's not even for teenagers because my teenagers don't be doing that. It's for some middle schoolers. You made me feel sad and you don't know you did. Yeah. Ashe, tomboy. Because the more we get around expanded individuals, right, the more expansive we become. All right, listen to this one. When you think about what I just mentioned, what is the most challenging or concerning part about what I said? When you think about what I just told you, what's the most challenging and concerning part? What's the most difficult part about this for you? What do you think the worst thing is about this? What do you think the best outcome is? What's ideal? Right, harsh criticism at this point is not good. It's not going to work. Harsh criticism is not going to work. I don't ever suggest harsh criticism, because someone who is criticizing and harsh, right, they can't really feel into that place in your soul that needs to be touched, right? They just stay on the outside and you block them out. I'm reading my new book, Black God. It feels like a parent and not your partner. I get that. When you think about, okay, I said that one already. It's important to realize that a person in pre-contemplation may not have answers to your questions. They may not have answers to your questions. So when you notice that they do not have answers, you can ask if they need or want more time to think about that. When I ask a question and I see the person probably doesn't have an answer, I say, and you don't have to answer that right now. It's just something to think about, and as you think on it, share it with me. You don't have to come to the conclusion right now, but it's part of our ongoing conversation, so let's touch base later and try that again. Right now, I can't listen. Right now, I'm feeling way too triggered, way too intense. It's not going to go good. I need to put a pin right here and stop talking, stop texting, pause, and then let's come back and try this again. I can't keep going on right now. Right? Okay. Here are some mistakes that people make when engaging a person in pre-contemplation. I'm very repetitive here because you need to keep hearing it. When you ask for accountability and they're in pre-contemplation, that's the wrong move. You're going to get denial. Because remember, a person in this stage doesn't even see that there's a problem. So how are they going to be accountable? How are they going to be accountable? You're asking for an impossibility, and you need to recognize that. In pre-contemplation, asking for accountability is going to get you nowhere. My battery is about to die on my phone, so let me hurry up and get through this last section, and then I'll come back and we'll keep talking about each stage, okay? Always assess your capacity before engaging in any conversation. Hey, T. Yeah. Always assess your capacity before engaging in any conversation. Again, always assess your capacity before engaging in any conversation. If you're already flustered, if you're already frustrated, if you're in anxiety, if you feel stress coming up, if you feel intolerance coming up, do not have that conversation. What kind of time do you need to ground? What kind of things ground you? You need to be asking yourself that, and you need to go do some of that. And also you need to do some of that while you're having a conversation so you could stay focused. Okay, especially if it's a triggering or intense conversation. If you know you fly off the handle and start spiraling, then you need to ground first, right? Thank you, Black God. You can get it on my website, okay? Always assess your capacity. This is self-care, empath. Don't just jump into a conversation. Assess yourself. Do I have the necessary energy? Do I have the necessary time? Do I have the necessary skills? That's why you need this book. It's an Empowered Empath guide. Self-assess. How is your energy? Do you feel anxious or worried, fed up or frustrated? Ask for some time. Ground, then have the conversation. Do you feel grounded and calm? Do you have enough time to discuss this topic? If so, how much time do you have? How much time are you willing to give to the discussion? How much time is reasonable? Do you have the necessary energy to have a conversation that may take a while? How is your patience? Do you feel open and allowing, or do you feel intolerant? Are you able to identify the signs that you've reached your capacity to effectively communicate? Do you know how to stop yourself before you have reached capacity? Do you know how to end the conversation before you have reached frustration or time limits? So important. Are you expecting the person to see and agree, or are you open to their authentic responses? Self-assess before the conversation. Okay? Are you expecting the person to see and agree, or are you open to their authentic responses? That's a real one. That's a real one. Because if you're honest, most of the time you want them to have the response you think that they should be having. Let's be honest. And if they have a different response than that, then you get upset. So you need to assess. Do I want their authentic response? Do I handle people emoting well? Okay. And then I ask, identify a scenario where you tried to advise a person with action before they were ready to act. Call to mind a situation where you were trying to get someone to do something, to act, to move, and they weren't ready. Or think about a time where someone tried to get you to act and move and do something that you weren't ready for or willing to do. What did you experience during the conversation? I'll tell you: contraction, tension, resistance. How did you feel after the conversation? I'll tell you: unheard, uncared for, aggravated. What do you wish that happened? You wish that they handled you properly in this stage. After reading about pre-contemplation, what would you do differently in these kind of scenarios? Learning about these human dynamics will help you care for yourself properly while helping others. And that is the end of stage 1, pre-contemplation. They call you controlling when they really are. Okay? Yeah, whenever you're trying to control how a person is responding and correct how they're responding, you're not ready to have the full conversation with their authenticity. Okay? All right. Let me let my son in. So that's it. I've been reading from my new book. It's called Empowered Empath. It's on my website, veronicamarie.com. You can get it there. And this is a game changer. This is a game changer for relationships. It's a game changer for you helping others. It's a game changer for your healthy and happy existence with other people. You got to get educated about the things that happen behind the veil. What's behind the veil? The dynamics, the subtleties of communication. You don't want to just fuss about what happened. You want to get into the subtleties of what happened. If you want real resolution, right, Jenna? If you want real resolution, if you want to be close to the person, if you want a healthy and happy existence with the people around you, you got to get concerned about what's going on behind the veil. And that's where your ascension happens, okay? So that is it. If you're new here, welcome. And follow me, and I'll be sure to follow you. My name is Coach Veronica Marie, and I'm here to help you live a healthier and a happier life. You can get my new book on my website, veronicamarie.com. My podcast is on Apple Music, on YouTube, Audible, Spotify. You can get those teachings anywhere. I have videos on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I got IG broadcast channels. I got a whole digital library. I'm about to go start working on another one in a second. And you're so welcome, Renee. It's everywhere. Get up and listen to me. Go to sleep listening to me. Listen to me throughout the day. All right? And that's it. Y'all have a beautiful day. And thank you for hanging out with me. My children are here, so I'm going to see how they doing. What's my podcast? Hey, Dominique. The link is in my profile. It's called Veronica Marie, The Healthy Happy Life Show. It's on YouTube. It's on, like I said, Apple Music, iTunes, I think that's what it's called. Spotify and Audible. You can find it there as well. And Podbean, too. Spotify, too. All right. It's Veronica Marie, The Healthy Happy Life Show. You are welcome, Nitro. Enjoy your day as well. Peace, y'all.